With Street Fighter VI's launch on the horizon, many people have turned to discussing an interesting new feature added to the series for the first time, the modern control scheme. This control style dramatically changes how the game is played, allowing for easier input of specials and supers, and probably some option selects that will not be possible otherwise. This is not a hot take video about Street Fighter VI modern controls. However, I think it's a good opportunity to delve into a topic that has long fascinated me: simplified or alternate control schemes in fighting games. My only opinion on Street Fighter's modern controls so far is that, well, you really need to wait till the game is out to actually see how they function for more characters. I think for some of the cast, they're probably going to have some cool things, and other characters will really feel like they gain nothing from it. Instead, I want to start by looking at a game that I think does an alternate control scheme very well, BlazBlue CentralFiction. Let's talk about all the positives of stylish controls, but then also cover the downsides and caveats for using simple controls. First off, BlazBlue does something that I think every simplified control scheme should attempt to do: not change how neutral is played. Now, this is a bit easier for BlazBlue rather than Street Fighter, as it's a 4-button game that just actually adds a button for special inputs, rather than Street Fighter attempting to refit 6 buttons into 6 different buttons. But I think it's very important to actually have access to all your moves. You see, not only do you have all your normals still in BlazBlue Stylish mode, you can also do the regular inputs for specials to get different versions of them, with some exceptions we'll cover later. This by itself is not necessarily the most beginner-friendly way to have a stylish mode, but I think it's the most beginner-friendly way for people new to BlazBlue specifically. Because although you can use any normals, those normals will then link into a few different auto-combo routes depending on starter. This is actually great for just screwing around with your friends. You know, you still have to learn the basics of what a character strives to do, but you don't have to learn all the execution to actually get their combos. The special button here can also be nice if you just, don't like doing certain inputs. Still bad at DPs? Your character probably has a DP shortcut from one of the directions of the special button. Some characters, like S, even get to just mash special without pressing any direction to get a DP. But just like I said how it would probably be in Street Fighter VI, stylish mode in BlazBlue really depends on the character. See, some characters get very good auto combos and already have kind of simple game plans that don't need really long combos to execute. The best example of this would be Iron Tager. His basic auto combo ends with a gadget finger knockdown right in front of you. The enemy is directly next to you and magnetized after every combo he does, which is exactly what he wants to do from his combos anyway. It's hard for Tager to have a better game state than where his basic stylish mode auto combo leaves you. Other characters are not quite as lucky. However, I think the best use of stylish mode is not because you can't do combos, but because you just want to focus entirely on the neutral that you still have to play, because it will really reduce your mental stack. You don't really have to think about what you're going to do after you get a hit. You focus entirely on getting that hit. I've entered various tournaments, both online and in person, playing stylish mode Tager, and I feel like I win matches just because I can focus on neutral and everyone else is trying really hard. I guess there's my big dark secret. I've been playing stylish mode in tournaments. That's why I know so much about stylish modes in a bunch of games. Now I'm here to tell you about the stylish modes in those games because you might run into them. But honestly, auto combos that aren't particularly optimal and easier to input specials aren't actually what makes people complain about stylish modes. What makes people complain about stylish modes is the one-button supers. Now, this really comes down to design intent. There's some games that just have one-button supers already. Look at recent NetherRealm games. Press L plus R, there's your super. That's about as instant as you can get. But BlazBlue, like many games, has more complicated super motions, like half circle back forward, or, in Tager's case, a 720. This especially matters for Tager because, normally, his 720 super is really, really good. It's frame 1 invincible, and if you see that super flash and you're already pressing a button, oh, you're already dead. In stylish mode, he just needs to press back plus special to do a super. So you can get the situation where Tager can just walk towards you and then super out of nowhere, where normally, with a 720, he'd have to disguise the button in some way. You can't do 2 full rotations before his jump comes out unless you've got some really, really, really fast inputs. And while there may not be many situations where you'd be caught by a random super of someone just walking towards you, he can also do it out of block stun. You see, normally you take some risk mashing a 360 or 720 while blocking. With Stylish Tager, I can just literally hold back and mash super. If there is even a 1 frame gap, you're getting super. Is it stupid? Yes. Has it won me tournament sets? Also yes. BlazBlue is probably the only game with stylish mode characters that are even close to tournament viable currently. At least that is commonly played. And we'll be getting into some bad stylish modes later in this video. So let's say you don't know optimal combos for a character yet. Is there a downside to picking stylish mode? After all, you get the benefits of easy input supers, but you can still do regular specials and supers as well. If you do a normal input for a super, you don't even have the damage loss that you would normally have from the fast input version. Yes, there are 2 major downsides to BlazBlue stylish mode. The first is that you are always stuck barrier blocking. You cannot normal block. Now, this can be bad in situations where your opponent takes advantage of this to just completely run your barrier down, with certain characters like Amane being able to just keep you in block stun for about 1,000 years. But honestly, if your opponent knows the game very well, they'll just be able to take advantage of you barrier blocking in general, because there's some attacks you just cannot punish with barrier block. You have to normal block them. Chip damage be damned. If you're wondering, you can still instant barrier block in stylish mode. Oftentimes that is still not enough. Sometimes you need to regular instant block if you want to get a punish. And if your opponent knows those situations and knows you're always going to barrier block, they don't have to worry about a punish at all. Since you cannot manually barrier block, you also cannot do certain option selects or just basic things like using barrier to cancel out of a dash quickly. As Tager, I don't care about this because Tager doesn't have a dash, but it's something to consider at a high level. The other issue with BlazBlue stylish mode is that sometimes you can't do all your specials manually. See, Tager loses nothing. Some characters even gain some weird things. One very commonly cited example is Kagura, who doesn't have to do his charge motions in stylish mode and can just walk forward and throw fireballs. Though while we are talking about Kagura getting to skip charge motions, I guess I will mention Street Fighter 6 here for a second just to say that you cannot skip charge motions with modern controls in Street Fighter 6. Here's footage from the open beta just before this video came out, and Chun-Li cannot cheat her fireballs. If you press back plus special to do a fireball and you don't have the charge, you just get lightning legs. The same goes for spinning bird kick, which she doesn't even have a shortcut input for. She can do EX spinning bird kick on an auto combo, but there's enough time in that auto combo to have pressed down to actually get it anyway. Good to see that Street Fighter's learned a little bit of a thing or two. This is not Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS with Guile's walking forward sonic booms. But there are some specials that in BlazBlue stylish mode you just can't do. One rather minor and strange example is S's air fireball. Normally you can shoot 2 fireballs in 2 different directions, down or forward. In stylish mode, you can only shoot 2 forward or 2 down. You cannot do one of each. Why? I have no idea. They just decided it would be too powerful that way, I guess. A far more egregious example is with Nu 13. In stylish mode, Nu cannot delay Lumina's Slave and cannot do reverse ground cycle. Those are 2 moves that are extremely important to our entire game plan, to the point that I would call Nu 13 basically unplayable in stylish mode, because you simply cannot get her best setups. You are directly handicapping yourself more than pretty much any other character that I know of by picking stylish mode with Nu. But overall, I think BlazBlue stylish mode is still, again, very fun to mess around with, and gets you to the fun part of playing a lot of characters, letting you mess around with their unique mechanics, without also having to spend several hours grinding combos before you're halfway competent with them. Do I recommend you play with stylish mode in tournaments? No, but it can make playing the game, especially casually, more fun. But now let's talk about some other games with some significantly worse stylish modes that weren't so much designed as just sorta thrown out there. Before I get to my piece de resistance, my really awful simple mode, let's first talk about Guilty Gear Xrd's stylish mode. If you're an avid ArcSys fan, you might think, you know, this is from a game that came out around the same time as BlazBlue CentralFiction. Is it similar to BlazBlue CentralFiction's stylish mode? Yes and no. It doesn't have some of the downsides that BlazBlue's does. You are not forced to always use faultless defense while blocking. That's definitely good for how Guilty Gear works, because you'd just lose all your meter immediately if you always had to faultless defense everything. However, there is one major downside in that you have 20% less health in stylish mode. I'm not sure if it's 20% less numerical health or like 20% less guts, or how it's actually implemented with how weird health is in Guilty Gear, but you're gonna feel that you die much faster. That alone is probably enough to get you to never pick it. But also, not having optimal combos in Guilty Gear also often hurts a lot more. You hit someone with a clean opening and it's like, no, you don't get to do good damage, you get to do like 3 hits. Possibly to rectify this, Arxis made a very strange decision with Guilty Gear stylish mode. If you mash out an auto combo and then keep mashing, you will get auto Oki as well. I think this is very bad as it lets you not think about neutral, and also just very janky and weird. And this isn't just, you will always do the same thing afterwards. This is actually like semi-intelligent Oki. If you're playing Dizzy and auto combo, you'll then throw up an ice spike or throw out a fish, and it differs depending on how far from the corner you are and how far the opponent was knocked away from you depending on the first hit of the auto combo. Raven will switch between throwing out an orb or throwing a needle. While I wouldn't say it's a super powerful advantage, as you should be able to figure out what's good in what situation pretty easily, it's just a weird advantage that, in my opinion, makes playing stylish mode in Xrd feel just both cheap and also unsatisfying, because I'm not really doing anything. When I play stylish in BlazBlue, I feel like I'm reducing my mental stack and focusing entirely on neutral. When I play stylish in Guilty Gear, I feel like I'm just mashing and I have no thoughts in my head whatsoever. Interestingly, I've also seen a couple online like beginner-friendly tournaments banning stylish mode for Xrd because, you know, if you're playing it, you're not really trying to learn the game. Whereas I've never seen anyone actually ban stylish mode for BlazBlue. I think this might be a little bit because nobody really knows how BlazBlue stylish mode works. In Xrd, you got the big stylish logo there, screaming in your face that, hey, this person's playing stylish. In BlazBlue, you might notice your opponent's just barrier blocking everything, but some people just do that anyway. The real way to tell is your name will be green if you're in stylish mode. Basically, nobody knows that. And I think sometimes online it just like doesn't show up right, maybe? But enough avoiding it, now let's talk about how to not do a stylish mode whatsoever. Not a lot of people play Arcana Heart 3. That means there's dramatically fewer people that have ever played Arcana Heart 3 Simple Mode. And that's a good thing, because Arcana Heart 3 Simple Mode is really, really bad. So Arcana Heart 3 is normally a 5-button game. Simple Mode turns it into a 4-button game. One of the game's main mechanics, the homing button, works exactly the same. As for the rest, well, you're gonna be suffering a bit. Your light attack button becomes all your normals and your auto combos. You lose half to, for some characters, even more than half of your normals just by picking Simple Mode. You can do a few more than normal, like down forward is usually a sweep, but a lot of characters lose their fastest buttons, which is always a good start. Your medium attack button becomes all your specials. I say all your specials kinda with an asterisk, because a lot of characters lose some specials and have no way to access them whatsoever in Simple Mode. Again, that's pretty bad. And your third attack button is now your Arcana attacks. Why they didn't map this to the button that was normally your Arcana attacks in regular controls, I don't know. That button's just not used for anything. Which is a pity, because it was also your guard break button, so in Simple Mode, you cannot do guard breaks in any way. But again, you have your Arcana button for all your Arcana special moves. As far as I know, nobody loses any special moves from this transition, because there's generally just not as many Arcana specials as there are normal character specials anyway. If you press combinations of 2 buttons at a time, you can get regular supers and Arcana supers. Some characters have quite a lot of supers normally. They lose all of those supers too. If you're lucky, you'll have 2 supers you can still use, that you actually want to use. Arcana Heart also has level 3 supers, which in Simple Mode become kind of a question mark. It depends per character how you do them in Simple Mode, and you're just gonna have to screw around and find out, because there's no move list to tell you how to do stuff in Simple Mode, and a lot of them are weird. However, as bad as those drawbacks may seem, those are not the bad parts of Arcana Heart Simple Mode. The bad parts are in the mechanics you lose. Yes, mechanics with an S. because heaven forbid you get to use all the game's mechanics when you just want some auto combos. First up, the most obviously bad is that you lose burst. Yeah, is this combo gonna kill you? Well, I guess you just have to take it. You don't have to bother baiting bursts against someone in simple mode because they just can't burst. You don't have a health penalty in simple mode, but you effectively do because you're gonna die one combo sooner because you can't burst. I already mentioned you can't do guard breaks because you simply cannot do the move that's a guard break anymore. You also lose a move that's a universal air unblockable. But far, far more importantly, you lose access to the Arcana system. Arcana Heart is a game that has two character select screens. First, you pick your character, then you pick your Arcana. Your Arcana changes what special moves you have as well as a bunch of other crazy bullshit that I'm not going to get into right now. I made a video about Arcana Heart mechanics, watch that if you really care. But, in simple mode, you get your default Arcana, and that is it. You cannot change. In addition to being bad because you just lose access to a whole lot of tools you could have, for some characters, their default Arcana is just bad. Since I'll be talking more about her in a second anyway, let's look at Kira. Kira has the Arcana of Water. Its one plus side is that it prevents all chip damage. However, water gives her basically nothing else. It has some interesting set play setups that are way too slow to set up off of anything Kira can get. It also has a command grab super, which Kira just straight up doesn't need because she has one of her own that's better. The only thing she can do is call a couple bubbles out if she's ever knocked really high in the air and her opponent's nowhere near her. Maybe she'll get some interesting setup off that. Probably not. Even something as crazy as Water's unique super, which makes the entire field underwater to slow down your opponent, is pretty wasted on Kira. She doesn't really get much in particular out of it. Now, one thing you may have heard about Arcana Heart is that it has some very bizarre inputs. And by bizarre inputs, people normally mean Yoriko's pentagram input. You might ask, can you shortcut this in simple mode? That would be pretty interesting. Her power-up mode that you have to do pentagram for is a very good power-up, that's why it has such a hard input. Well, sort of. If you use simple mode, you get to shortcut the easy part of the input, half circle back forward. You then have to still manually do the pentagram afterwards. I guess they decided, no, you don't get this easily in simple mode, why would you try that? So do you gain anything at all from picking simple mode in Arcana Heart 3? Well, if you're looking for jank, you can still have some. Because just like BlazBlue, you do at least have the one-button supers. And Kira is the grappler of the game. She also gets an instant 720. The difference is, in Arcana Heart, she can fly. Everyone else can fly too. But a grappler flying at you with an instant 720 on the air or on the ground is a very, very scary thing. She is the only remotely viable character in simple mode, just for the simple reason of, if you don't know how to deal with someone who is always going to be instantly invincible and grab you as soon as you get close every time and time again, you're gonna lose pretty quickly. And if you're playing in like a Japanese arcade tournament best of one, that could take you pretty far. However, I do have to emphasize, no, don't do this. Don't pick up Arcana Heart just so you can press funny buttons with a simple mode grappler. Now, pick up Arcana Heart, it's a good game, but no, not for simple mode. It is really, really bad for all the reasons I just explained. You don't want to play this. Now, what about some 3D games, you might say? I haven't been talking about any 3D games because I don't really have many good examples from them. I don't know that many even have a stylish or other simplified input mode. However, Tekken 7 does have one. First, let's look at assist inputs. Assist plus any of the 4 main buttons will let you do a special move without having to do the input. This kinda doesn't matter that much. This can let you do a easy combo for every character if you just hold assist and press left punch, left kick. And for some characters, it's very nice to have a shortcut on right kick for their armor move. However, Tekken doesn't have a lot of individually very hard inputs, and these assist moves do not let you use these very hard inputs for free, so ultimately this feature doesn't really do that much. Tekken 7, however, does have a different easy combo mode that completely replaces your punch buttons with just starters for auto combos. This is just bad. Tekken is a game that is very fundamental focused, and losing access to basically half your moves, both of your punch buttons becoming now just one single thing, is very bad. You're just handicapping yourself. I mean, most characters, because each string has to start with a move that, actually starts a combo, are not going to have a 10-frame move anymore. Sorry, that's usually your light punch. Your light punch is now a combo starter. Hope you like not being able to punish anything. I wouldn't even call Tekken as how not to do an easy input system, because it barely did an easy input system. It's not going to help anybody learn the game. It's not probably even going to help many people have more fun playing the game. It's just a weird arbitrary addition in a game where you still can't even choose to fight against a specific CPU in versus mode. This was not the thing that Tekken 7 needed to be a good game. You know what's interesting in addition to traditional stylish modes? Auto combos that are kind of built into the game. Look at games like Under Night InBirth, where if you mash A you get an auto combo into a super, and you actually can't get that any other way normally. There's even some high-level stuff you can do with this, like using the auto combo to link moves again, and you've already used your normal amount of links in a combo. But I'm not really good at Under Night, so I can't get too much into that. Besides, it's more interesting to talk about how it's done in Melty Blood type Lumina. When Melty Blood launched, it launched with just auto combos enabled by default, and you couldn't really turn them off. Now they've added 4 options for the auto combos. You can have them on, you can have them on but mapped to a different button combination, you can have them completely off, or you can have them on only in the air. Now, as a point of clarification, these are also sort of different from regular auto combos because they don't spend meter, it's just a launcher into an air grab, and that's the same for every character. But what I think is more interesting is how the game is designed around them. Want to do several jabs in a row and don't want an auto combo? Hold back or hold down, and you have a certain number of jabs you can chain before going into the auto combo. This is also very different from other stylish modes that I've been talking about because it doesn't provide easy input supers or even easy input specials. Sure, you have your moon specials, which are just done by a button combination and a direction, but those are not a stylish mode, those are always on and they use a completely separate resource, and they have different properties than normal versions of specials. But mostly I just wanted to acknowledge that that's a thing. It's really its own system. However, there's one thing I really like about games that have a mash auto combo system on by default. And that is, you don't see lots of dropped combos. Even just mashing through, you're probably going to pick up into something. Now, this completely changes the game, and that's why you really only see it in anime fighter style games. But honestly, at a low level, it really helps people get into the game just because you can easily do something once you get a hit. You don't have to worry about hit confirms off of everything. But speaking of games that have a mashable hit confirm, that also have special and super shortcuts, for the last game we're going to talk about, let's talk about Granblue Fantasy Versus. Unlike the other games I've discussed here, Granblue Fantasy Versus does not have a stylish mode. Rather, it has an assisted input button that is just always active. You don't have to choose it, it's just always there. And unlike the other games, the game was definitely designed with the assist button in mind, and the systems work around it. There's a few different things to note about Granblue Fantasy Versus. First, it has the feature I like of an auto combo system for getting hit confirms. Now, it's just 3 hits as long as you get a close range normal, but those 3 hits go a long way towards not dropping anything. But more important is, of course, the assist button. Press forward, back, neutral, or down plus the assist button and get a special move. For some characters, you can't get all their special moves from the assist button. For example, Bilal's walk forward parry, which is a half circle, can't be done with the assist button. He has other moves on assist. There's only so many moves you can put on only 4 options. Street Fighter is going to have this same thing, with some moves, even in modern controls, having to be done with actual inputs and not a shortcut button. However, in Granblue, if you press the assist button plus medium or heavy, you get the medium or heavy versions of those specials. You can also do this with light, but you get the light versions by default, so there's no need to. This is important as it's a shortcut to EX versions of specials as well. And, sometimes you just really need an EXDP to get out of a situation, and you don't care about the downsides of using the assist button. Oh yeah, there's downsides to the assist button, by the way. There's a little bit of reduced damage, but again, for a lot of the time you don't care about damage, you just need a move to come out right then. The real downside is that it increases your cooldown for the move. Granblue has a cooldown system for special moves rather than spending meter for EX versions. If you do a light or medium version of a move, it recovers pretty much immediately. However, if you use the assist button, the cooldown will be a bit longer. And for EX moves across the board, there is a longer cooldown. You can't just spam EXDP or EX Fireball. You can't use the regular versions once you use the EX version until it recovers as well, so there's a huge trade-off here. As the assist button increases cooldowns, the whole system is built around this. You are at a bit of a disadvantage by using the easier inputs, but you are not losing any functionality of the moves by using the easy inputs. A few specific moves, in fact, really benefit from the simple inputs, and those would be supers, sometimes. Every character in Granblue has at least 2 supers, one of which is a Desperation super at low health. The reduced damage is very noticeable on supers, but that only matters if you're using the super for damage. Let's look at Fairy. Sure, her Desperation super will be noticeably reduced, but her 2 normal supers doesn't really matter. She's got the big ball, which often is just a way to get out of a situation by putting a giant hitbox out. If you're using it in a combo, yeah, you'll lose a little bit of damage. And then we have her install, which is, well, it's an install state that lets her cancel more stuff. That doesn't do damage directly at all. There's some other gimmicky supers as well, like, well, both a low-end supers that are more of an install state rather than direct damage. So for these characters, like, why not use the simpler input for supers? You're not really losing anything, you might be able to get them out faster, which might be what matters. Well, I said that in BlazBlue it might be very borderline viable to try to use stylish controls to play in a tournament. In Granblue, it is just actually viable, because the entire game is designed around it. You're not going to see top-level players just using a bunch of simple inputs and auto combos exclusively, but at the same time, maybe you will see a few easy input supers or something around there, and you wouldn't even really know. I can only hope that Street Fighter VI's modern controls feel even half as good and intuitive and well designed for the game as the assist button in Granblue Fantasy Versus does. Well, Street Fighter VI is coming out in less than a week after this video is going to be actually published. We'll see how modern controls for that game actually go. Regardless of how viable they are in Street Fighter VI, I'm still going to enjoy messing with modern controls, and I'm going to enjoy playing stylish modes in other games. Thanks for watching or listening to this video. If there's any particularly interesting stylish modes you know of, let me know in the comments. Especially if there's any for 3D games. Like I said, I really don't know of any 3D games with good assist modes.